I'm going to go ahead and start the recording, and I'm going to share my screen. Let me do that real quick. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about jumpstarting your career. So this again comes back to what happens when you first get licensed. So, you know, you have your real estate license, you've gone through all of the hard work, you passed your state test, you did all the fingerprints and all that. But what do you do now? You know, and if you're getting started in today's market, you know, you're probably even more so wondering, especially with everything going on recently with COVID, where do I do? You know, where do I get started? Where do I need to do to get my business jump started? So I want to kind of start with a little bit of an overall view of the real estate industry. So the real estate industry is something that drew you in. It drew me in 20 years ago. I've been doing it ever since, and I love it. And there's a few things just to remember about this industry. Number one is the reason why we all got into this. The sky is the limit on what your earning potential could be. You know, if you are happy doing this part-time and maybe make a little bit of extra money throughout the year for your family, or if you're doing this full-time and maybe your earning potential, you want it to be, you know, 6 figures, whatever it is, you can do that here in real estate. We have a lot of agents that are making well over 6 figures, and we have a lot of agents that are, you know, kind of doing it part-time, but they're still making a decent living at it. So what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. If you're only putting, you know, actually, let me hold on one second. I got somebody waiting in the waiting room. Okay, I think I've got everybody in the room now. I may have to do this a couple times. Unfortunately, I have to keep on sharing when I let people in the room. So if you're a people person, this is definitely the career for you. You know, this type of a job is all about relationships. You know, the types of agents that do well in this industry are the ones that are out there. You're shaking hands with potential buyers. You're meeting your neighbors and talking to them about listings. This is a job for a people person. Throughout the years, I've met a lot of people that, you know, are very shy and maybe don't feel comfortable picking up the phone and cold calling. This might not be the job for you if you're not comfortable putting yourself out there. You know, you have to really get outside of your comfort zone, and you have to reach out and meet new customers. This is a proactive business, which means that we have some lead systems and we have some things that we can provide to you as a company, but ultimately it is up to you to go and find that business. So you have to go out there and look for your next sale out there. So we're going to give you all the tools to be successful. We give you a lot of great tools, both through Century 21 as well as through Century 21 Coyote, that allow you to be very successful in this career, but you have to use them. If we give you all these tools and you're not using them, you maybe only work a couple hours a week, you're not really getting anything out of it, well, you're not putting anything into it. So you've got to use the tools and you've got to put in the effort for you to actually see the results in your career. Self-discipline is always going to be key in keeping yourself on track. You know, many of us come from a background where you were used to working a 9-to-5 job. Maybe you got to work, you clocked out at 5 o'clock and you went home and forgot about work for the next, 16 hours. Real estate's a little different. You don't really turn real estate off. You know, there's going to be times when you're going to be writing contracts at 10 o'clock at night and doing showings on a Saturday and a Sunday. So you have to keep yourself disciplined to make sure that you are keeping yourself on track. That involves making sure you have a schedule. You know, if you want to make sure that you're doing the right things, create a schedule for yourself. Wake up at 7 o'clock. Maybe your first 2 hours of the day are spent on prospecting. Whatever it is, but you need to have some sort of a schedule. When you start finding, I'm going to sleep in today and I'm not really going to get out of bed until 10 o'clock and I'm going to party on Friday and Saturday and I'm really not going to do any showings, it's again going to show in your results. You have to really give it your all in order for you to see those results. So again, there is a lot of flexibility and control over your own schedule. That's why many of us are in the business. You don't have to be at work at 9 o'clock, but no one's going to be standing over your shoulder to remind you to get up. I'm not going to be calling you at 7 o'clock in the morning to remind you to wake up. I'm not going to be calling you at 9 o'clock to ask you why you're not in the office. You are an independent contractor. You've got to make sure that you have a schedule and you stick to it. These are just really good practices. So I'm going to be telling you a lot of really good practices today. One of the best practices is make sure you keep yourself on some sort of a schedule. You have the opportunity here in real estate to partner up with other agents. Now is a great time for you to find maybe another agent that's new to the business, that's learning the systems just like you, and to be able to partner up with them. Maybe you do, open houses together. Maybe you form a little team and you share in your listings together or whatever it is. But you have the ability to team up with other agents and share in, your efforts together. It's a lot easier when you have two people working towards a goal rather than one. So sometimes it's really great to team up with somebody that has a like mindset to you to be able to partner with. There are plenty of ways to get information. Here at Century 21 Coyote, we give you lots of information. If you attend our sales meetings, all we do is try to give you guys current relative information. We're going to keep you updated on what's going on in the market. We're going to keep you updated on what's new to MLS and what's new to law changes and things like that. You also will notice that we have an abundance of learning opportunities. I mean, today alone, I think we had 2 or 3 different classes going on. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to be able to participate in various trainings that we provide, and a lot of our vendors also provide to increase your knowledge. I go to these things all the time. It's great, especially now that we have the ability to watch many of these through online webinars rather than having to go in person and drive somewhere. I never stop learning. I love taking online classes from title companies and mortgage brokers and our own managers and other people in the industry, because you have to make sure you're always abreast of what's going on in the real estate market. If you don't know what's going on in the real estate market, you're not going to be on top of your game. And that's what it's really all about, is making sure you are the expert in your field. And being an expert in the field is knowing what changes are being made, what's happening in real estate, the trends, the things that are going on. You have to know these things because you are expected to be that expert. You also want to look for opportunities in neighborhood events, networking events, gatherings, anything you can get in front of potential customers. Remember, everybody you meet that's over the age of 18 is going to be a potential buyer or seller for you. So you have to put yourself in front of other people. Maybe it's attending an HOA event so you can get to meet some of the other owners in your neighborhood. Maybe it's sponsoring a school event where you can have a booth, and maybe you're meeting other parents that are looking to buy or sell a home. So there's a lot of ways of getting yourself out there. You have to get outside of your comfort zone and do those things. Oops. Okay, so the harsh reality now, and I don't like to harp on this, but it is really important, is, being the reality of our business is 70% of the people that you went to real estate school with are most likely going to be out of business after the first year. It's a scary statistic, and we don't want that to happen for you. We want you to be part of that 30% that prospers and does well and continues to stay in this industry. Most of the people that fail in real estate don't have a business plan, or maybe they have unrealistic expectations. When you get into real estate and you right out of the gates expect that you're going to be making $10,000 in your first month, isn't really a realistic expectation. You have to understand it does take a little bit of time to build a business. All of you have to start thinking in the mindset that you are business owners. And when you start a business from the ground up, you do have to expect that you have to grow that business. You have to develop a pipeline. You have to get customers that believe in you for you to actually start getting closings and doing those things. I will tell you, after you get your first closings, things will happen pretty quickly. It's like a snowball effect. Once you have your first closing, you have that confidence, you're out there, maybe you start getting more comfortable talking to people. All of those are going to result in even more closings for you. Don't expect an immediate return. If you got into this thinking that, hey, I need rent money for next month, I need to pay my mortgage next month, you may not see that immediate return. You've got to at least establish that it's going to take a couple months for you to really get that first contract or that first closing. Okay, so you have to develop a pipeline. Remember, think of this again from a business owner standpoint. If you are a brand new restaurant in town, and let's say I opened a brand new restaurant right here in Windermere, I can't really expect that my first couple of months are going to be hugely successful to me. Hold on one second. I've got to let somebody in the room. Okay. I think I've just got everybody admitted to the room. So let me go back to my presentation. Okay, oops, where was I? Okay. So again, we're saying, you know, make sure you have a budget. You know, you can't really expect to have an immediate return. Again, talking back to the example I just gave, if you're opening a restaurant, you're not going to expect to have a huge flood of people your first couple of months. It takes a few months for people to try your food, want to come back, take a chance on you, right? So you have to expect that you're starting a business from the ground up. There will be a time investment. You know, you're going to need to start prospecting. Prospecting, if you ever hear this term, just to understand what prospecting is anything you're doing today to build your pipeline for tomorrow. So maybe I'm reaching out to my sphere of influence. Maybe I'm touching base with everybody through social media, or I'm doing an event in front of my local community that's getting me in front of people. That's going to be considered prospecting. You're building your pipeline. That will never, ever stop. Think about your business. If you plan on being this for the long haul, hey, listen, I plan on being in real estate for the next 20 years. That prospecting will never, ever stop. So 2 hours a day, you have to dedicate yourself to building your pipeline for tomorrow. Again, that could be so many different things: prospecting, doing open houses, anything you're doing to build your database, to build your pipeline is important. The reason why you never want to stop this is what happens after my pipeline dries up and I haven't done anything to build tomorrow's pipeline. Well, guess what? I have nothing on the books for next month. I have nothing on the books for 2 months from now or a year from now. You have to always continue to build that pipeline, because that pipeline doesn't go on forever. You've got to continue to add to it and build to it and make sure that you've got a continued business for years to come. So again, this is going to be a time investment. This is really one of the most important things we're going to be talking about today, is you've really got to work to build your pipeline, okay? Your first closing will almost always come from your own efforts. So most of your database and most of your closings in real estate are not going to come from the leads that we provide you. Yeah, we provide you with some leads and those are there to help you, but your majority of your business is always going to come from your own efforts and your own database, okay? Last but not least is network, network, network. This is the lifeblood of your business. You know, again, going back to being that outgoing person, you've got to be able to walk into a room of people and start talking. You know, I talk a lot about getting outside of your comfort zone. You know, one of the things that's really important is you need to be able to just walk up to people and just start talking. One of the examples I love to give is, you know, when people start going out in public again and when people start gathering and having get-togethers, you know, I challenge each of you to go to an event, go to any event, pick a social event or a networking event or a business event or Chamber of Commerce event. Go by yourself. Again, we're taking you outside of your comfort zone. Go to the event and make it a point to walk around the room. Make it a point to tell yourself, Katie, I'm going to go in there today and I'm going to walk out of there with 10 different business cards of people that I meet, or I'm going to walk out of there with 5 email addresses from potential buyers and sellers that I can touch base with. So you've really got to challenge yourself, take yourself out of your comfort zone. The most successful people in this industry are the ones that can walk into that room, easily talk to everybody in that room, and they have numbers just coming out of their pockets because they have that personality to be able to go in there and win over that crowd. So I challenge all of you to step outside of your comfort zone, start talking to people and create conversations about real estate, whether it's in Publix or at the, you know, or maybe you're at a restaurant or whatever it is. Start talking to people. That's how you're going to build your business for the future. I'm going to stop for just a second. I'm going to make sure we've got everybody in our room, and I also want to make sure we don't have any questions. I think we're okay right now. Okay, very good. So let's go back to my presentation. Okay, so the next one is we're going to talk more about being a business owner. So as a independent contractor, which is what you are, remember, you are not an employee of Century 21 Curiotti. I am, because I'm employed by them as a manager. However, as a realtor, you are an independent contractor with us. Hold on one second. I have somebody to let in. Sorry, guys. Okay, let me go back to my presentation. Okay, so remember, you're an independent contractor. You're not employed by Century 21. So you are in self-employed status. What that means is that at the end of the year, we do not take any sort of taxes out. This is up to you. You're going to receive a 1099 at the end of the year for any commissions that you've earned. We do not take any withholding out. That'll be up to you to do through your CPA or through your own taxes if you file them yourself. However, because you are a business owner, remember you're an independent contractor, there are a lot more deductions, tax deductions, that are available to you. So I like to kind of go over some of these things because it's really important to start your habits off with good practices. And one of the good practices is to start keeping track of all your spending as it relates to real estate. So start keeping track of all of your receipts. Did you just join the Board of Realtors? Did you get an e-key? Did you maybe buy some sign writers? And maybe you had to buy a new laptop or printer for your business. All of these should be saved because these are potential tax deductions for you for your real estate business. You can also log your mileage. So if you're going out to Davenport and you're going to go show a bunch of homes, I'm going to start keeping a log of my mileage when I'm going to and from properties because I want to be able to get that tax write-off and to have my mileage deducted at the end of the year. Now, there are some great apps out there. So if you don't want to keep, we used to keep the little manual logs where you would have to calculate your mileage. Well, guess what? They have these wonderful apps now available through our smartphones that actually will track your mileage for you. So you basically start it, it'll use your GPS, it'll track it for you, and it makes it very, very easy. So you don't have to keep this little book like we used to do back long ago. You also have the ability to become incorporated, which means that you become a PA or an LLC. A PA is a professional association, or an LLC, which is a limited liability corporation. As a realtor, you are able to incorporate yourself. Now, when you incorporate yourself, there is a little bit of a process to this. First, you would have to be incorporated. You would have to get a tax ID. You would literally be forming a corporation. A lot of agents use a CPA when they do this. A lot of CPAs do this for relatively inexpensive. They'll take care of setting up the corporation for you, setting up your bank account and things like that. Once you become incorporated, by the way, you can only incorporate yourself as your name. So I can't pick something like, Katie's Real Estate Services, PA has to be your name. So we only have two choices. So if I, Catherine Acosta, wanted to become a PA or an LLC, the only options I would have are Catherine Acosta PA or Catherine Acosta LLC. You cannot use a fictitious name. It has to be your name. That's what the corporation allows for us to do. Now, once you've done this, and again, this isn't something that, you don't have to do this right out of the gates, but this is something you maybe want to talk to your CPA about. If you have somebody that maybe you talk to for financial advice, or you have a CPA, or even if you do it yourself, there's a lot of great tax deductions and protection that is available to you. So let's use the example. Let's say, for example, I'm practicing real estate, and this does happen. And let's say a customer personally sues me for something that I've done for a transaction. If they were to personally sue me, they would be going after anything personal that I own, my car, my house, investment accounts, whatever it is. If I were to instead become a PA or an LLC, I am then a corporation. So my license would reflect that I'm a corporation, and therefore, if I were to get sued, they would not be suing me personally, they would be suing my corporation. Okay, so there's, again, a lot of benefits to that. There's a lot of protection. It protects some property. It protects, your bank account, things like that. I'm not a CPA. I don't portray myself to be one. If you are thinking about becoming incorporated, I do advise you to talk to a CPA, so that way they can advise you as to which one is the better option for you based on your, homes that you own and personal accounts. They may advise you to whether or not a PA or an LLC would be more appropriate for you. Okay. So let's talk about, what do you need to run your business? So again, we're going back to the fact that you guys are all business owners. So you have to have certain, things to run your business. Obviously, the essentials. You've got to have a laptop. That's kind of number one. You've got to have something where you can work remotely. You can, pop open your laptop in the office, whatever it is. You should have some sort of a scanner or printer, whether you're printing MLS printouts, whatever it is. You all need to have an electronic key. This is something you get from the Board of Realtors. We do not provide these for you. You will have to be assigned one through the Board of Realtors. So if you don't have one yet, contact whatever board that you joined and they will get you your electronic key. This is what we use to get in and out of properties. So if you are going to go show property and the listing agent tells you that it's on electronic lockbox, you will need this key to be able to get into that property. The reason why is everybody has a distinct sign-in. So if I'm a listing agent and somebody leaves the door open to the property and somebody breaks into the property, I can actually go through and find out who was the last agent that showed that property. So it makes us accountable. It tracks who is going in and out of our properties. So it's very important for all of you to have this electronic key. And again, this is provided through the Board of Realtors. Make sure you have some sort of a camera or a smartphone that can take some great photos. You never know when you're going to be out looking at a new construction or somebody's property and the buyer wants you to take some great photos. So always have that handy. Make sure you have adequate car insurance. You know, if you plan on putting anybody in your car, and it does happen, you know, we don't normally put people in our cars as much as we used to because of safety purposes. However, there's a lot of times where you might have a family that's here on vacation at Disney and maybe you have to pick them up at the hotel and show them properties before they get on their flight. You know, it happens to all of us. So if you're going to have people in your car, make sure you have adequate car insurance. You never know when an accident can happen and you want to make sure you're protected there. Make sure you have your agent website completed. You know, this is an important one. People will do research on you. So if you are going to a networking event and maybe you meet a potential seller, who's to say that that seller's not going to go home and Google you? You know, you want to have some information out there about you on the internet. So obviously the best thing about you is your really great agent website. You have two different options through Century 21. We provide you with both My C21 sites as well as the Zap websites. And I do training classes on that every single month. So every month without fail, I do a class on My C21 sites as well as Zap. Either one of them you can use. You don't have to use both of them. You can use whichever one you like, but we give you free, really great agent websites. Now, the one thing I do want you to do is I want you to go to GoDaddy and purchase a domain name. You know, this can be katieacosta.com or katieacostahomes.com, whatever it is. Purchase a domain name. That's all you need is just the domain name, but that's what you're going to then use on your business cards. You know, you want to make sure that you have a personalized domain name that we can then transfer over to one of our new websites. Having business cards and a name badge. You know, these are the two most inexpensive ways for you to market yourself the most effective way. So you know, the best $20 you will ever spend is going to be spent on a name badge. So let me show you. I have a quick thing I want to actually show you. Hopefully you should all be able to see my screen. This is recognitionexpress.com. This is my favorite place if you are looking for a name badge. All you have to do when you get here, again, it's recognitionexpress.com. When you get here, you just select which brand, which is Century 21. And I'm going to show you what the best investment you can make. So under badges are going to be all of the various Century 21 badges that you have available that you can purchase. Guys, these are like 15 bucks. They're like 20 bucks. This is going to be the cheapest way for you to get the most exposure. Wear your name badge everywhere. I have gotten customers from Publix like you would not believe because people will see my Century 21 logo. They start talking to me. You know, it is. People want to talk about real estate. You know, we all have that in common. We all need to eat. We all need to breathe. We all need shelter, right? So people are always in a position to buy or sell or even rent a home. So wear your name badge, wear it everywhere. You will find people will want to talk to you because they see that name badge and they see that Century 21 logo. Wear it to networking events, wear it to your PTA meeting, whatever it is. Don't be shameful about it. Wear that name badge. It will be the best $20 you've ever spent. Okay, so that's my little plug on name badges. Okay, so some other things you want is to have a mileage tracker or apps. You know, like I mentioned, you want to start tracking your mileage. If you're driving to and from, or maybe you're driving all over Central Florida showing properties, you don't want that gas to be wasted and that mileage to be wasted, right? So keep track of your mileage. You know, there's two really great apps. One is called Mile IQ and the other one is called Hurdler. These are two really great apps that actually use the GPS in your phone to track your mileage. So it makes it very easy for you to be able to keep track of. And at the end of the year, you can actually download that data and send it right to your CPA for them to be able to give you your deductions on your mileage. Last but not least is get some sort of a receipt holder. If you're old school, maybe you like to keep everything in a shoebox, or maybe you're more techie and you can use something like Quicken or QuickBooks. You know, now that you're a business, you want to start good practices right off the bat. So it's not a bad idea to get QuickBooks or Quicken for small business. That way you can start keeping track of your income as well as what your expenses are. So at the end of the year, you'll be able to get all those deductions. I'm going to stop for just a second. I'm going to see if anybody has any questions. Let's see. Looks like we're okay. Okay, great. I'm going to go back. Okay, so next, what do you do to maintain your business? So all of you are now licensed, which means that you have to keep up with your real estate license. It is your responsibility as a real estate licensee to be current on your CE credits, okay? I am not going to be reminding you before your renewal to make sure you do your education. This is up to you. You can look at your license and see when it expires. If you have not completed it yet, so if you haven't done, if you just got licensed and you haven't had your first renewal period yet, you need to take your 45-hour post-licensing. So after you first achieve and get your salesperson's license, you then, before your first renewal of your license, you do have to complete your 45-hour post-licensing. I advise you, if you recently just got licensed, get it done with. Just get it out of the way, because you're not going to want to do it when you're busy, right? So if you wait a year to do your 45 hours, a year is going to look very different from now. You might be busy. You don't have time to do a 45-hour post-licensing class. Do it now while you're not that busy, while you're getting yourself started, and get it done with. Get it out of the way. That way you don't have to worry about it, okay? After you do your first renewal, after that, it's only going to be 14 hours. So right now, as it stands, I do 14 hours every year and a half when my renewal is due, and that's all I have to do going forth is my 14 hours. But that is your responsibility to keep up with. We do ask that you let us know once you've done your renewal, because we want to make sure that you are keeping your licensing up to date. It is also up to you to make sure your board and MLS fees are up to date. If we find that you're not paying your MLS and board dues, we come to a point where we have no choice but to terminate you. So it is very, very important that you make sure that if the board and MLS are sending you invoices, make sure you're paying those and paying those on time. When it gets very behind, then we do have to get involved, because at that point we have to make the decision, are you going to actually pay these, or do we have to terminate you because you're not going to pay those? So it is up to you. Make sure you're keeping all of your board MLS fees up to date. And also, if you change your name or your address, make sure you're doing that notification to the Division of Real Estate. So if you've recently moved or you got married and you change your name, make sure you're notifying the Division of Real Estate. There's a form in there. You can simply print it out, fill it out, and mail it into them, and they will take care of making those changes for you. Make sure you notify us of any upcoming educational completion. So maybe you completed recently your 45 hours. Just send your manager just a quick note and let them know, hey, I just want to let you know I did complete my 45 hours. I'm all up to date on my continuing education. It helps us to be able to make sure we know who's current and if we have to follow up with anybody. Last but not least, make sure that any income earned through real estate has to be paid to Century 21 Coyote. If you ever have a buyer or a seller or a tenant say anything like, hey, you know what, I'll just give you $500, we'll do it under the table, I'll just write a check to you. Don't do that. You put your license on the line. It is actually illegal, so don't do that. Make sure that any income that is earned through real estate is always made payable to Century 21 Coyote. You know, that is the way the law reads, and that's how we have to process it. Okay, so going back to being the business owner, it's all about having a confidence to be a business owner. Now that you are, you have to think about your business. You have to be confident. You have to start thinking of your real estate business as a company. What are you going to do to be that responsible business owner? Are you going to have the confidence to get out there and shake those hands and to build that business? So it's all about practicing on becoming self-disciplined. When you have that urge to sleep until 10 o'clock, or you know what, I'm going to go to the beach and I'm going to blow off the whole weekend. I'm not even going to work this weekend. Remember that's going to be reflective on how your business is. Yeah, it's okay once in a while. Of course, we all need a weekend at the beach. We all do that. However, don't let it become a daily thing where you're constantly putting your real estate on hold in order to, put things off or whatever. You've got to be self-disciplined. You've got to get yourself in motion. You've got to push yourself to do things that you wouldn't normally do. And that means being self-motivated. We're not going to force you to go to classes. We're not going to force you to come into the office and make those calls. You have to hold yourself accountable. Create a written business plan. We're real big on business plans. No successful company is going to be successful without having a plan. You've got to know, what am I going to do with this new business, my new real estate company? What am I going to do with it to make it successful? You can't go into owning a company and not have any sort of a plan. You've got to have goals. What are my goals? What am I looking to achieve with this real estate business? It could be anything from income goals to personal goals. It could be something where, I want to be able to spend more time with my family. So this is what I'm going to use real estate for, is I'm going to focus on, maybe I'm going to work 4 days a week, but I'm going to really work 10 hours those 4 days and to give myself extra time. So your goals don't have to necessarily be income. They could be time management, personal goals, whatever it is. Make it realistic. Don't make it so easy that it's easy to obtain. Put it a little bit out of reach, but make it attainable. If your business plan getting into this and you're brand new in the business, if your business plan is, I'm going to be making $100,000 by the end of the year, that might not be realistic, and that might lead to you getting really disappointed. And I don't want you to get disappointed. So my advice is to set smaller goals. Do it in a way that maybe isn't necessarily based on income. So for example, maybe my goal next week is going to be that I want to shake hands, or I want to meet 10 new people. I want to have 10 conversations with people that I've never met before that are potential clients, right? And then maybe at the end of next week, I review my plan and I say, you know what, I did really good this week. Next week, I'm going to shoot for 15 people. So you review it and you make adjustments, but don't put it so far out of reach that you get discouraged. I don't want to see you discouraged. I don't want you to be that 70% that gets out of business after the first year. I want you to be the 30% that makes this work and is able to be successful at this. And a lot of it comes down with planning and doing things the correct way right out of the gates. Have a team of professionals that are going to help you to achieve your goal. You are very lucky to have a whole team of managers and a broker and owner. And, we have a whole group of people here that are here to help you. But you also have wonderful people like lenders, title companies, home inspectors that are here to support you as well. So you want to have a good team of professionals, because when you come into a bind and maybe you need that really good lender, I want to know that I can call somebody like Nate Cassidy and be able to get that answer that I need right away. So you want to have a good team of professionals. And obviously here at Cariotti, we do that. We've been in business long enough. We have a great team of professionals and reputable professionals that we work with. If we know that somebody is not really the best, maybe they're not on the up and up, or they've done something shady, we don't work with them. We are working with people that are going to help our business, not hinder it. Dress for the job you want. So this is kind of important. This talks all about perception. Perception is everything in sales. If a customer Googles my name and they find nothing about me on the internet, not one website, not anything about me on the internet, what is the perception that buyer has or that seller has? I'm inexperienced, never been in the business before, I'm not active on social media, I have no web presence. It's all about perception. And the same thing happens with the way we dress. So I'm not saying you have to go out and spend hundreds of dollars on a brand new suit, but just look professional, look the part. So if I'm going to go show property, and maybe I'm showing property in Windermere or a nice area, I'm going to make sure that I dress a little bit nicer that day. But guess what? If I'm going to go show horse property out in the middle of Osceola County and I'm going to be walking in the middle of a field, looking for ranches, I might be wearing my jeans and my boots, right? So dress for who you're working with. Use your best judgment, but remember that perception is everything. When you pull up in front of a buyer and they look in the back seat of your car and they see that your car is full of empty Gatorade bottles, what are they going to think of you? So it's not just about the way you look and the way you conduct yourself. It's also about making sure you have a clean car and you have a clear head and you have clean clothes and you're there, you're put together, you're ready to be professional and to be the business owner that you're meant to be. Also, track your business expenses. We talked about tracking receipts, things like client lunches. So let's say you take a client out to Starbucks. Make sure you get that receipt and you write down, who did I meet with, what was discussed, and what day did it fall on. Your CPA is going to want to know that, okay? Things like clothes purchases, computer purchases, keep all those. If you do have to go buy a nice new suit for your closing coming up, keep that because that could be considered a tax deduction. Also, you're going to be getting tons and tons of new online passwords and logins. Make sure you remember these. Make sure that if I ask you to log into your 21 online account, you know how to do that quickly. You need to be able to track and access all of your different systems quickly. If you're trying to access a system and you forgot the password, I don't remember, now I got to reset it, that's going to hurt your ability to be able to do things efficiently. So make sure you're keeping track of your online information and your passwords. On a side note, it's also important to Google yourself once in a while. Make sure, especially if you've been in the business for a while, make sure you know what's out there about you on the internet. Is it all positive? Do you have negative reviews that are maybe hurting your business? You need to do this periodically because you want to see what the perception is of the general public and how you are as a professional. So we talked about aligning ourselves with the right team of professionals. We have two really great people two great companies that we align ourselves with. The first is our preferred lender, who is Nathan Cassidy of Hometown Lenders. Nathan is on our weekly sales calls. He's a very important resource for us. And he's also a person you can reach out for if you need help, whether it's a simple question or maybe your buyer has a question. Feel free to reach out to Nate. He's there for you. He's very accessible. He'll be able to answer even your simplest of questions. There's no dumb questions. Remember, we were all new ones. He will be very a good person for you to be able to walk through. He'll tell you in layman's terms what your answer is. So don't feel like you can't call in Nate. He's a great resource for you. Also, we have Equitable Title. Equitable Title is our preferred title company. They work with us in making sure our closings go very smoothly. They are a great company. I've worked with them for many years in Celebration, and nothing but great things to say about it. And so that's our title company. We do suggest, if you don't have a title company or a lender, to use these two. Give them a try. See if you like them. I'm sure you'll be impressed with the results. So being the business owner you're meant to be. Now, obviously, when you're selling anything, and we are salespersons, remember that we are salespeople. So as salespeople, what are we selling? What is our product? Well, our product is homes. Our product is listings. So you should be familiar with your product. If I'm asking you to sell Teslas, and I want you to go out there and sell new cars, new Tesla cars to people, you better know that product, right? You're going to know every feature of that car. You're going to know how fast it is. You're going to know all about that engine and the pricing and everything that comes along with it, right? Well, you are real estate salespeople, which means that you should know your product, especially if you are practicing in a certain area. So let's use the example of Windermere, okay, which is where I am right now. You should be familiar with all the communities in the Windermere area, including new home communities. I should know that if I'm practicing, if I'm making Windermere my service area and the area that I want to target, I better know my product, right? I've got to know the communities in my service area. So when a customer calls me and they start talking to me about Keens Point, I better make sure I know all about Keens Point, right? So this is really important. You also want to make sure you know about new home communities. There are so many great builders out there that are building homes, many of which can be bought for similar pricing as you can buy a resale home. So not only should you be showing resale homes to your buyers, but also make sure there's no new home communities that you can't, that you can be showing them. New home communities are a great way of your buyers being able to get added incentives. You can also maybe get extra commissions. Some of these communities are paying us more commissions than normal. So make sure you know everything in your service area, whether it's the communities that are existing or new home communities. Make sure you're visiting them often. So if you've got a bunch of new home communities located in your service area, you should be visiting each of those communities. Know what inventory homes they have available. What are the pricing? What are the incentives that they're giving to buyers? Get to know the representatives. Give them your business cards. Hey, I just want to let you know I'm going to be coming by here. I just want to make sure you know my face because I'm going to be in here a lot. Be on your toes when it comes to the market. People are always going to ask you that one question that they love to ask realtors: how's the real estate market? How you respond is going to be very important. So when somebody asks you, how's the real estate market? Do you say good? Or do you go into a lengthy discussion about how great the real estate market is and how we're seeing home inventories coming back and, oh, this is really great and the rental market's crazy and we're really getting busy? Make sure you know your market. The more knowledgeable you sound, the more of an expert you are. So when somebody says, how's the real estate market? Your answer shouldn't be good. The answer should be, let's talk about it. And by the way, Mr. Buyer, tell me what you're looking for. You're obviously interested in the real estate market. What are you thinking about? So that leads to a discussion. That's an open discussion. Make sure you're having open discussions with people. Increase your knowledge by attending classes. We have a lot of classes that we provide to you through not only Century 21 Corporate, but we also have our own Century 21 Karaoke classes that you'll see me send out links to whenever we have them. We also have our vendors. In fact, this morning we got an email from one of our affiliated vendors, Equitable Title, and they were doing a bunch of classes. Don't miss an opportunity to go take a class. So if a local title company or maybe the Board of Realtors is doing a class, go to these. These are free classes. Many of you can even get CE credits for. Go to these classes. The more knowledgeable you are and continue to be, the better off you're going to be. So it's not just about getting your license and that's it. It's about getting your license and continuing throughout your business to always enhance your learning. You never stop learning. There's so many new apps, there's new ways of doing things, there's new things out there. We have to learn about those. So make sure you're the most knowledgeable agent out there. Know the latest technology. Do you know all the different apps that your buyers are using? We're dealing with a really a great generation. I'm sorry, hold on one second. The generations that we have now, the millennials and then the generation after them, they have all these wonderful apps. They're finding us through these apps. You need to know what they're using. When the great thing about some of these newer buyers is when they call us, they already know what they want. They've already seen everything on the market. They've already gotten pre-qualified. They already know how much they want to offer on the property. They just need you to do the negotiating. So they're already coming into the experience with a lot of knowledge. And many of this is through, apps, they're using, Zillow and all these different apps to really find out a lot about the market. So know the latest technology. The best thing you can do is to read your magazines. And I know I mentioned that last. Read your magazines. All of you will start getting 2 magazines now that you're realtors. You'll get one from the Florida Association of Realtors, and you'll get a second magazine from the National Association of Realtors. Read both of those magazines. Those magazines are going to tell you what's going on in the industry. They're going to share with you best practices. They're going to interview top brokers in our field. And they're also going to talk to you about the latest technology that's out there for both us as realtors as well as for our customers. Know the technology. If a buyer calls you and tells you that they are using a certain app, you best make sure that you know what that app is and what it's all about. Also, make sure you're mastering your own systems. The one system you should know front and back is always going to be the MLS. The MLS is going to be something that you are going to be using several times a day. It's something that I just keep open on my computer. I never close that window. It always stays open because you will always be accessing the MLS. The MLS does their own training. We do not do any MLS training here at the office because we don't need to. The MLS does their own training. So make sure you're doing your MLS training. Make sure you know MLS front and back. We do expect you to understand that when you come into the business. Dotloop and Zap and 21 Online are other systems that we provide here through the office. These are ways of, Dotloop is where your transactions are kept and where all of your forms are. Zap is your website, and 21 Online is where we access all of our Century 21 services. So these are things you're going to have to learn. If you struggle with technology, you may have to watch some of these classes a couple times, but unfortunately, we do want you to know these systems. We are basically virtual at this point. Everything is online. We do need you to know these systems, okay? Also, one of my pet peeves, make sure your outgoing email has your contact information. It is frustrating when I get an email from an agent and I have no idea who they are. Maybe their email is, Florida Realtor, at gmail.com. If I don't know who you are, I'm going to be asking you, who is this? Who sent me an email? Very simple, guys. Go into your settings, whether it's Gmail or Hotmail, go into your email signature and put a signature. Make sure you have your first name, your last name, the company name, our address, our phone numbers, your website, your email, whatever it is. Make sure your stuff is on there, because if you're sending emails to me and I don't know who's sending them, that means you're also sending emails to customers. And every email that you send out should always have an email signature saying who you are, who you work for, and how you can be contacted. Okay, that's just my little pet peeve, but just make sure you do it. Also, know your competition. You need to know what other realtors are doing in the industry. This becomes especially important if you are listing properties. You need to know what other agents are offering, what are other agents doing to get the listings, but you have to know the competition. We are neck and neck with a lot of other companies in town, and even though we're the best, we have to know what our competition is doing. That way we can stay one step ahead of them, okay? Always be punctual and professional. This is another one of my pet peeves. Do not show up to things late. You've got to start holding yourself accountable, whether it's going to a sales meeting or going to a listing presentation. Be punctual. When you're 5 minutes late, it's too late. You've already lost the contract. You've already lost it. I do a listing presentation class, and it's very, very disrespectful when you show up to a presentation, whether it's with a buyer or a seller, and you're late. Okay, my advice to you is, if you think you're going to run into traffic, leave a half hour early. It's better for you to be early to the appointment than to be late. Like I said, it does create a perception that if you don't care enough about me to be on time to my meeting, then why should I, give you my listing or give you my sale? So make sure you're always professional and punctual when you're in the office or in front of potential customers. And that's just across the board with any industry. Answer your phone. Unless you're with a customer, unless you're in a meeting or you're in a class, answer your phone. And guess what? Even if it's a number you don't recognize, that could be a potential seller or buyer for you. Answer your phone. We are not private people anymore. Your phone number is going to be available on Google. People are going to be able to find your phone number. You want people to call you. You want people, just like running a restaurant, you want people to walk into your restaurant, right? Well, then you want people to call you. So answer your phone. Unless you're with a customer, always be present. This is again, an industry, across the board, but learn how to be a good listener. As agents, we tend to be very outgoing people, and we like to talk a lot. And sometimes we talk more than we need to. Sometimes, as an outgoing person, we need to sometimes pull back and learn to be a good listener. Ask open-ended questions. Develop a rapport with somebody before you start asking for their business. But be a good listener. Put your phone away, guys. If you don't have to have your phone out, if you're in front of a customer, put your phone away. There is nothing more disrespectful than when you're meeting with somebody and they're looking at their phone and they're not with you in that moment. When you're trying to build a relationship with a buyer or a seller or a renter, make sure that they know that you respect them enough to put the phone down. I get it. You know, I have a son. I understand there's emergency situations. I'm not talking about the emergencies. I'm talking about you checking a text message that you don't need to be checking right now. Put your phone down. Be present with people. That's going to be very important, not just today, but every day. And it's not just important in real estate, it's important in life. So just learn to be a good listener. I think you're going to see that your business is going to be much better because of it. And you're going to have lifelong customers that are going to be loyal to you. Ask for business and ask for referrals. Make sure that if I'm talking to somebody and maybe I can't help them necessarily with their home purchase, you know, I might say to them, you know what, you and I have been friends for a long time. I know that, you know, you're not going to be able, you're not looking to buy anytime soon, but do you know of anybody that is? You know, I build my business on word of mouth. It is important for me to get more business. So I'm going to ask you if you know of anybody, if you hear of anybody wanting to buy or sell real estate, please mention me, send them my way. I'd love to be able to help them. Okay. Always find a way to work in your real estate job or your real estate market into your conversations. You know, we have a lot of people that, you know, as individuals we work with. You know, we've had the same lawn guy that comes and cuts our lawn every week for the last 5 years. And guess what? He knows everybody in town. He cuts everybody else's lawn. So if I'm really looking to build my business, I'm going to go to him and say, you know what? Here's my business cards. If you know of any of my neighbors that are thinking about selling, just give them my card. Say, hey, you know what, Katie down the road is a great agent and she'd love to talk to you. So remember, ask for business. We give a lot of business to people that we go to regularly. It's okay for us to ask for referrals in return. And like I said, always find a way to work in your real estate job or real estate market into your conversations. If you're having a conversation with somebody and maybe you're at a Christmas party or you're in line at Publix, whatever it is, talk about real estate. People love to talk about real estate. So start working it in. Hey, I went to a great Century 21 event the other day. Oh, you work for Century 21? How great. We're thinking about buying. You never know who's in a position to buy or sell unless you start the conversation. So have those conversations with people. So now we're going to talk about prospecting. And like I mentioned before, prospecting is building your pipeline for tomorrow. And I'm going to try to breeze through the rest of this because I know we're getting close to our time. As far as your sphere of influence, you know, now is really important for you to make sure that everybody you know knows you're in real estate. That includes friends and families and their friends and families, social groups, community groups, doctors, dentists, babysitters, lawn crews, everybody you know, everybody you come in contact with should know that you are in real estate because they're going to also help spread the word. Social media, make sure you have a Facebook account or Instagram or LinkedIn. It doesn't matter which one. If you use one or two or three, or, you know, maybe you don't want to use any of them, but I do suggest having at least one social media set up, and most of us do choose Facebook, but there's some other great ones out there as well. Joining a networking or lead group such as Rotary Club, these are great ways of getting in front of other professionals in our community. Business colleagues, past and present. Many of you are coming from careers, which you have a lot of former coworkers. These are all people that could be potential buyers for you. Other realtors around the globe, you know, when you're traveling, maybe you're going different places and you're running into contact with other agents. Let everybody know, hey, I'm right here in Orlando. We are still you know, was it #1 or #2 destination out there? People still want to move here. People still want to buy homes here. So mention the fact that I'm in Orlando. I love to help any of your referrals. Vendor partners, past buyers. You could also do things like direct mail and print ads. You can do, you know, obviously having some sort of a web presence is important. Immersing yourself in the community. You know, this is, like I said, this is a big part of what you're going to start doing is you're going to start getting out there in the community and immersing yourself out there to get to know more people. Once again, everybody should know that you are a realtor. You should be telling everybody. It doesn't have to be blatant. It doesn't have to be, hey, I'm a realtor, I'm a realtor, I'm a realtor. It could be very slight, like attended a Century 21 event today, great training. You know, little hints that, yes, I'm in real estate. I'm furthering my education. I am a professional and I'm building my career. So who can you think of right now in your sphere of influence that may need to buy or sell a home? If you can't think of anybody right now, you're not having those conversations. So if you can't think of at least one or two people right now that you know of that may need to buy or sell a home, my advice to you is to start having more conversations. Start talking to people, talk to your barber, talk to people and ask them, what's your situation? Are you, you told me that you were renting. Have you thought about maybe purchasing? And now's a great time to do that. Creating a presence on the internet, it's very important, even as a new agent, to create as much positive online presence as possible. Again, I don't want a buyer or seller to Google me and find zero. That's the worst thing. You don't want them to find zero. You want them to see something out there, because if they see something out there, the perception is, oh, well, she must be a good agent. She's got a website. She's got all the social media presence. She's got, she's a part of all these directories. Try different social media avenues to see what works for you. Customers will Google you. So what will they see or what will they won't see? You want to make sure you have some sort of internet presence. Get your Zap agent website completed and add some rich content and links. You can also experiment with blogging and creating more self-generated SEO techniques. I'd suggest attending both of my classes that I talk about your websites. That way I can give you more information on that. One important one, if you haven't done this yet, start joining directories. You can go to just about any online real estate website like Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, Homes.com. All of them have a way for you to create a free online directory. Basically, you're just going to have a directory location on there. It doesn't mean you're going to get leads off it, but what you're doing is you're creating a presence. So again, if somebody Googles me, maybe they'll see that I'm part of the Zillow directory of agents. Okay, so you're creating an online presence. Also, things like a YouTube channel. A lot of agents nowadays are starting to experiment a little bit more with videos. Videos are really powerful right now, especially because Google owns YouTube. So when you're Googling something, a lot of times you'll see that the YouTube videos will come up first on that search. So having your own YouTube channel, maybe you're posting videos about properties, things like that, that is a great way for you to get that internet exposure. Also, every time you do a transaction, make sure you're gathering online reviews. We have a great system called Real Satisfied that's available to you that allows us to send surveys out to our closed customers. Once you get these testimonials back, you even have the ability to share those online. So again, the more positive online presence you can get out there, the better. So if somebody were to Google me, maybe I haven't sold one property yet. Maybe I'm brand new in the business, but somebody Googles me and they see, wow, she's got a full website. She's got all these directories that she's a part of. She must be good, right? It's all about perception. So we talked a little bit about I'm not going to go too much into this. This is social media. My advice to you is keep it separate. If you're using right now Facebook for your personal benefits, then maybe create a professional page. I'm one of these people that likes to keep my personal life separate. I don't have a professional page. I don't actually sell right now, so I just have a personal page. However, it's good to keep those separate. Customers don't need to see pictures of your family. They don't need to see, when you're on vacation, things like that. So it is really nice to have that professional page off of your personal one. And last but not least is keep it professional and neutral. Customers, perception is everything. So if you are doing things on Facebook that are inappropriate or unprofessional, it's going to really reflect on you as the agent. So keep it professional and keep it neutral. Fine tune and grow your database. Wear your name badge everywhere you go. Have your business cards handy at all times. These are just a given. Those are the two cheapest ways of you being able to advertise yourself. Take advantage of those. Last but not, secondly, is get email addresses for everybody you meet. Remember, when you give your business card to somebody, don't expect that they're going to call you. I get business cards a lot from a lot of different vendors. They might get put in a drawer. Maybe they get put in a Rolodex or something like that, but I may not be calling them, right? So as a proactive agent, don't rely on that customer to look at your business card and call you. It's because guess what? They may throw that away as soon as they get home. So instead, hey, Mr. Buyer, it was great talking to you today in Publix. Here's my business card. Do you mind if I just get your email address? That way I can set you up on my monthly, newsletter, and keep in touch with you going forth. If you get that email address, that's really all you need, to be able to keep in touch with that client. Everybody you meet is a potential buyer, seller, or rental. Keep all those emails in an organized database. We've talked a lot about things like Business Builder and being able to send out prospecting emails. This is a great system, or I'm sorry, a great tool for you to be able to use to send out to those emails. Conduct as many open houses as you can. There's a lot of listing agents out there that are not able to do open houses every weekend for their listings. So there's a lot of us here in the office that the agents are doing open houses for some of the listing agents. Do as many of those as you can. This is your ability to be right in front of live people. It's not like an internet lead where all you get is an email address. This is a live person that walked into a home. So it's a little bit of a different situation. It's a little bit more of a higher converting lead. So do those open houses, get yourself in front of customers. Not only do you have the potential of getting another buyer, but it also is good practice. You're practicing talking to people, and you're developing that confidence of being able to have those conversations. Network with other realtors, both inside and outside of our office, for potential referral opportunities. You never know when somebody needs to refer a client to you in Orlando. If you're looking to do any sort of direct mail, these do cost money. Any sort of direct mail or print ads are going to cost you some money. If you're looking to do some postcards, maybe you want to target a community to get listings. There's a lot of lenders out there will partner with you to help with some of the cost. What I would say is my favorite thing to do instead of doing these professional ones, I like doing just personally addressed letters or note cards. I find that customers open them when they're hand addressed rather than being printed out on a computer. My advice is, if you are wanting to maybe target your community, find out the addresses and maybe just take a little bit of time and personally address some letters or note cards to them. You could also get creative. There's magazines, there's gifts you can do, print ads. There's so many different things you can do to get out there in front of customers. Again, thinking like a business owner, this is ways of you growing that business and getting that exposure to potential customers. Building your brand and your niche, once you start getting your feet in the ground and you start getting more and more sales under your belt, maybe now it's going to be time for you to start fine-tuning your brand and fine-tuning your niche. And what do I mean by a niche? Well, that niche could be, hey, I want to start helping people that are looking at golf properties. Maybe you're an avid golfer, or maybe you're an avid fisherman and you want to help people find, lakefront, properties. Whatever it is, this is your way of specializing into a certain niche. Now, when you're getting started in the business, everything's your niche. Hey, I'll work luxury. I don't care. I'll work any buyer that walks across my table. But when you start becoming more successful, you then have the ability to fine tune what you want to specialize in. Maybe it's luxury homes or helping that rental client go from rent to buy, helping vacation homeowners. There's a lot of opportunity out there for you to specialize. Now, when you decide that you are doing well enough that you want to start specializing, make sure that you know what you're specializing in. So if I'm not an avid golfer, probably not a good idea for me to really specialize in golf properties. You want to really understand the niche you're doing. So, maybe if you're somebody that's grew up on a farm, maybe the agricultural property is good for you. But remember, if you decide you do want to eventually start specializing in something, make sure you know what you're specializing in and you are an expert in that field. Think outside the box. There's a lot of realtors out there. In fact, you guys have a lot of competition out there. So what are you going to do different from everybody else that's going to define you and be able to set you apart from everybody else? Here's a little bit of thinking outside the box. And some of these are, big. Some of these are, car wraps and things you can do and things like that. But look right here. This one is very simple. This one maybe cost $1 to do. It's a pack of extra gum, and it says the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra. Hope you have an extra good day. This is a little bit of marketing, just a cute little marketing thing that you can do if you wanted to do something like that. But think outside the box. If somebody's doing something creative, it doesn't mean you can't do the same thing. Just, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but see what's working. What is working for other industries? If you see that an insurance agent has a really great little marketing idea that they have, Doesn't mean you can't take it and change a little and use it, for your uses. But just remember, think outside the box. What is going to set you apart from other agents out there to make somebody want to call you as opposed to them? Meeting prospects. So now we're talking about meeting prospects. This is tips to meeting prospects. Number one is don't be shy. If you are getting into this business and you are shy and you don't want to talk to people, this might not be the right business for you. You've really got to really kind of overcome that fear of rejection. I remember when I first got started in the business 20 years ago, my broker literally put a white pages in front of me and said, here, cold call. And I was just literally cold calling names out of the phone book. And if you want to overcome your fear of rejection real quick, do that. You will be hung up on so many times and you will overcome that fear of rejection real quick. In fact, after a while, you start becoming used to people rejecting you. So that way you look forward to the yes. Remember, I may have to hear 9 or 10 no's before I hear that first yes. Okay, so you have to overcome your fear of rejection. You've got to give a firm and confident handshake. You should be a confident business owner. If I'm meeting you for the first time, make sure you're confident, the way you act, your handshake, making eye contact. That's really important. This is still a relationship business. So you're developing relationships. And part of that is making eye contact, being calm and in the moment. Leave the buzzing phone, let it ring. You don't need to answer it right now. Okay. Another thing is to remember their name. It's a memory trick. Repeat people's names back to them. That's something I've gotten used to doing so that I try to remember agents' names, is I repeat the name back to them. So as you're talking to me, I might say your name a couple times throughout the conversation because it's helping me to put a name to your face. Remember their name. Nothing is worse than when you first meet somebody and then all of a sudden within a second, you've already forgotten their name, right? So just try to remember people's name and create your own little tricks to try to do that. Build rapport with people that you're talking to. Instead of trying to sell them on something right away, build a relationship. We want to work with people that we like. We want to work with people that we, can develop a relationship with, even if it's a professional one. So build rapport. Find some sort of commonality. Maybe you're both from the same hometown in New England. Maybe you both like the same football team. Maybe your kids both went to the same school together. Any sort of commonality that can help you to relate to that buyer or seller is going to allow them to feel that connection to you, and it's going to help them stay loyal to you. They're going to want to be loyal to you because they like you. Okay. Be sure that you have your business card and something to write information down. Make little notes. I always used to make notes of people's dogs' names and people's kids' names. So the next time I saw them, I'd say, hey, how's little Johnny doing? And how's the dog? And, and all that great stuff, because I want to get to know, everybody, and I want to make little notes. Hey, I remember you were talking about this particular community. It will impress people when you remember these details. A lot of times when we're talking, we don't think that people remember details about conversations. But if somebody comes back and says, hey, I remember you were telling me about, that one house that you saw, it's going to impress me as a buyer that my agent remembered that about me. So I like making little notes and details. So that way, when I talk to somebody again, I'll remind them, hey, I remember our conversation. Your conversation was important to me. Make a memorable first impression. What are they going to remember about you when they walk away? Are they going to remember that you were a put together professional agent that, answered all their questions, with knowledge? Or are they going to remember that you were a hot mess that had no, business wearing a name badge that day? So what is the first impression? Every time you meet somebody, when you walk away from that first impression, was it a good one? Was it a bad one? What could you have done differently to make it a better first impression? Maybe you were distracted by your phone, or maybe, you didn't really have the right answers when they were asking you questions. So remember to critique yourself too. That way you're constantly working on your approach and your sales techniques. Follow up each new introduction with an email or a handwritten note and thank them for their time. You're going to hear me talk about this a lot. It is so important that we thank people for their time. We don't do this enough, as agents. So whenever you meet with a buyer or seller, after you meet with them, send them a text message, send them an email, maybe send a note card. Thank them for their time. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, it was really great. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me at Starbucks. I truly enjoyed our conversation. I look forward to working with you. So again, not many agents are even doing this. But so if you're the agent that's out there sending thank you notes, you're setting yourself apart from everybody else. We don't do this enough. We don't thank each other enough. So every once in a while, thank somebody for their time. Thank you for doing that for me. Thank you for meeting with me. I appreciate you taking your time with me. Learn from your mistakes. Did somebody else hear your interaction? Maybe somebody heard you on the phone. Critique yourself. You know, did you stumble over your words? Did you talk about yourself too much? Were you not a good listener? And also practice your pitch with scripts and role playing. So just to summarize, make sure you're prospecting 1 to 2 hours each day. This will never stop. You've got to have a plan both financially and for marketing, and review it periodically. Spread the word. Make sure everybody knows that you're a realtor through social media. Your next buyer is out there. You have to find them. You've got to be proactive and go and get that business. If you're going to sit there and wait for the business to fall in your lap, it's not going to happen. You've got to get out there, be proactive, go get that business. Think outside the box and step outside of your comfort zone. That's a big one for many of us. You know, that's something that many of you will struggle with, but force yourself to do it. You'll be better that you did. See what others are doing. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. What are other people doing to be successful? What are some of their marketing techniques that seem to be working? Be realistic in your goals and what you wish to accomplish. Don't bite off more than you can chew. You know, there's nothing wrong with failing at something. You know, we've all done that. You know, I remember back in the day, I bought bus benches and I had my name and face all over bus benches in Osceola County. Guess what? I got 0 calls off of those bus benches and they cost me a fortune. So I realized that, you know what, that wasn't the best place to invest my money, and I stopped it and I tried something else that did eventually work. So, and that also leads to being a chameleon. You know, the market changes so frequently. I remember in 2008, when the first crash, when we had our market crash, and nobody knew what a short sale was. So all of a sudden you have all these realtors, hundreds and thousands of us, we have no idea what a short sale is. So now all of us had to quickly go to classes and understand what a short sale was, that way we can change with the changing market. Make sure you're doing the same. Make sure that you are aware of everything going on in this industry. Read your magazines. Be up top and on top of everything that's going on here, technology, everything. Because the more on top of things you are, the more you're going to be ahead of everybody else, and the more it's going to make you unique. Last but not least, have fun with this. This is a great industry. I've been doing it 20 years. I can't think of doing anything else. It's especially rewarding. It's very prosperous. And you're helping people find their dream homes. There's nothing better than maybe helping that family that's been renting and now they finally have the money for that down payment, and you're helping to get them into their dream home. And there's nothing more rewarding than that. So my best advice to you is have fun with it. Put in the hard work and you'll see the results from it. Take advantage of our services and all the tools that we have. Go to our meetings, go to the classes. The more you're engaged, the better it's going to be for your career. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. Actually, it doesn't look like I have any questions. Does anybody have any questions for me? It looks like we might be all good. We're good. Okay. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and end the call. I appreciate you all being on the call with me today. I hope you at least took away a few little bits of nuggets of gold that you can use in your industry. Start off your career with good practices. You know, don't be like me where, you know, I got started in a whirlwind and then later I realized, oh my goodness, I never really had a good plan. So go into this with good practices from the beginning. Keep track of your expenses, make sure you're keeping yourself experienced, and be the expert in your field. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and end the call. And thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Take care.